I remember when I was 6 years old, I would play Lego Batman with my cousin, and we would watch Batman the Animated Series while we were eating lunch. As we grew older, we watched the Nolan Batman movies and played the Arkham games, and we got to appreciate the complexity of Batman and his villains. Batman meant a lot to us. It's one of the foundations of our friendship. So when we heard there's an upcoming Batman movie, we were so excited. The stakes were high because it meant a lot to us. And now, after watching it myself, I can safely say, without a doubt, the Batman is I wanna start my The Batman review on the Batman himself, because in my opinion, he is the reason this movie turned out as good as it did. The movie, as you most likely know, takes place in the second year of Bruce's crusade. In fact, he isn't even called Batman yet. Everyone calls him Vengeance, because he still hasn't let go of the rage and guilt over his parents' death. And he is much more inexperienced and angrier than most of his versions. When he fights, you can see how sloppy he is. He hits hard, but he also fails to dodge at times. He isn't quite at his peak yet. You can also clearly see how much he is suffering. It shows how much his trauma affected him, something I don't think other Batman movies explain this well. This version of the Batman just felt like the Batman I knew ever since I was a child. The only on-screen Batman so far that was true to his no-kill rule. And I'm so sick and tired of arguing with people about Batman's no-kill rule. If Batman killed, he wouldn't be any better than any of his villains. He wouldn't be any better than the person who killed his parents. And ironically enough, most of his villains constantly try to get Batman to break his one rule. A dynamic that wouldn't really work if Batman killed. A point that was executed perfectly in Batman the Animated Series and the Arkham games. And explained perfectly by High Top Films. And it's so stupid how so many versions got this wrong. Aside from that, he was also the only on-screen Batman to play detective and show his intelligence. Most casual fans I talk to seem to think Batman's only ability is being rich and a good fighter. Despite the fact that Batman is one of the smartest people in the planet and holds the title of the world's greatest detective, I think this movie did a perfect job at showing us a younger and more inexperienced Batman that actually felt like the Batman we all knew. I can perfectly imagine this Batman growing up to be the Batman I watched when I was a child. And this is the main reason that this movie, in my opinion, is the best Batman movie ever. I have given my take on the Batman. Now here's a few words from an old friend.
Before I begin, special thanks to Homocritic for this opportunity. I believe Batman is a character with so much value, so much so that he has to be handled with special care. You can't place him in everything and expect it to look good. He belongs to his own atmosphere, Gotham City. When I first heard that this movie is going to introduce a new Batman actor and change the entire style of Riddler, I used to think that this will be just another movie released to cash in on the success of the Caped Crusader's character, with no care or love whatsoever. But after watching it, I take it all back. This Batman is the closest one to perfection. He isn't bulky as hell, and doesn't put on an unnatural grunt while talking either. And most importantly, his character as Bruce Wayne isn't completely the opposite of the Batman. He looks and acts the same as both of his personalities, for the most part. He's always tired and scarred, and you can really get that feeling that there's something on his shoulders that puts a burden behind his back. Some sort of responsibility. And this Batman uses one of his most important weapons as much as he can, fear, while the previous variations of him did not use that factor as much as they should have. Criminals in this movie don't hate Batman, they're afraid of him. Batman specifically says that when the light with his logo hits the sky, it's not just a call, it's a warning. There are even shots intentionally taken from specific angles to show how menacing the Batman is. And also the main theme of the movie, which gives a strong warning vibe. The Batcave and the Batmobile in this movie actually look believable. Batcave doesn't have tens of computers with such high technology that hasn't even been accomplished in real life to this day. And the Batmobile looks like a normal car, just with a lot of modifications. Modifications which are believable. These details significantly add to the factor of realism in this movie and make Batman a more believable character. Overall, if you love Batman, watch this movie. If you feel like DC can't make a comeback, watch this movie. And if you think Robert Pattinson is a bad actor, watch this movie.
Where were we again? Oh yeah. This movie looks gorgeous. Most likely the best Gotham put to screen ever. Every shot in this movie looks filthy. This Gotham looks disgusting. It might even be a lost cause to try to redeem it. It looks so fucked that Batman might actually be the city's only hope. And I love it for that. This is the city that birthed people like Batman and the Riddler. People who are scarred like Catwoman and Penguin. And it's fitting that it's always either dark or raining. It perfectly shows what a shithole Gotham is, and how Batman's journey to redeem it just started. The Batman takes a lot of inspiration from its predecessor on being realistic, and in being realistic it made some choices that led to a lot of controversy. Things like a new Zodiac style to the Riddler or Robert Pattinson as Batman didn't sit well with everyone. But despite all the hate, Robert Pattinson proved himself to be a great actor. If you go to any actor, there's at least one shitty thing they played in. Sadly, that shitty thing is what Robert Pattinson is most famous for. Another controversy was this new take on the Riddler. Many people disliked the new Zodiac-inspired outfit and the theme of Gotham's corruption, and they wanted a more comic-accurate Riddler. But in my opinion, that would have been a horrible decision. Not only making Riddler a comic-accurate villain would have destroyed the themes of vengeance, but it would also take away from the aspect of corruption in Gotham, ruining the whole atmosphere of the movie. I think that the regular Riddler is too campy to be the main villain of a Batman movie. But this new psycho serial killer version is much more menacing, especially since Riddler is already equipped with enough intelligence to outsmart Batman. And he most certainly did in this movie. I thought giving Riddler a new Zodiac-inspired vibe was genius, and I also in general just loved Riddler being used as a villain in a movie. And this is officially when we get to spoiler territory. So if you haven't watched the actual movie yourself, this is a good time to click off. I loved how Batman was a direct influence to Riddler. Batman was his inspiration. The question of whether Batman makes his villains is an interesting one. Something Batman Telltale series went into great details.
What's your point? Sometimes it's as if Batman creates the evil he means to destroy. For all our good intentions, I fear we only make things worse.
This whole thing plays into the theme of vengeance and how it will corrupt people. The movie starts with a young Batman looking for vengeance and ends with a mature Batman who sets his anger aside for something more. A symbol of hope, not an inspiration for destruction.